Hello, my name is Oscar Fire, and like I said, I am. You know, it's funny, but I actually know that sound. It's something I'm used to from my own apartment, because I had corroded pipes, and they when they would and if the pressure was too low, they would start to like vibrate in the wall. It was very annoying, and they got replaced, and that stopped happening. But anyway, that was interesting. Anyway, hello, my name is Oscar Fire, and welcome to yet another video that I'm recording for the third one in a row. Hopefully I'm awake enough for this. And this one is a little bit more... This one's a little bit more experimental. And it's going to require a little extra work in order to, I think, make it work properly. But if it does, you know, but it's mostly just for my own entertainment, my own fun and everything. So, if you pay attention at all to my channel, you may notice that I have a bunch of playlists on the channel. And a lot of those playlists are not in any way related to any videos I actually make, or at least they weren't. Because, if you may notice, I like music. I like game music. I like music from the games I've played over the years. And I enjoy making playlists of the music from the video games I've played over the years. Now, of course, over the past few years, my absolute obsession has been really with Final Fantasy XIV. You know, critically acclaimed MMORPG with a free trial. That was okay. I'm just I'm not gonna do the meme. But my obsession has been with Final Fantasy XIV and the absolutely fantastic musical work of Masayoshi Soken. He has made an original like game score that is absolutely phenomenal, and I have absolutely fallen in love with this game's music. You know, anytime I'm like when I want to listen to music in the background, I go to like YouTube videos of like Final Fantasy XIV music and listen to it because I absolutely love it. Now, of course, a big part of this is that the music has an emotional connection with me, with the game's plot and story, you know, and so forth. That's a huge part of it. You know, there's an emotional connection there that makes me enjoy it more. But the music, I think, is very good in its own right. And so, as you may notice, I've made a couple of, actually 3 playlists around it. I've made a selections playlist of music from the game that I've started. Though I've not resumed, I stopped ages ago. I think the last videos I uploaded were earlier this year, right? But one of selections of the game, of my favorite music from the game, which I actually have to update before Endwalker. A second one, which is comprised of remixes and rearrangements of the various music by fans. And a third one, a very short one, called Remember. So when patch 5.3 came out, it came, and this is, by the way, major spoiler territory. Don't be forewarned that if you want to play Final Fantasy XIV for yourself, that you don't actually want to watch this video yet. But in patch 5.3, there was a trial called the Seed of Sacrifice. And it's where you fight the final of the Unsundered Ascians, Elidibus, who has taken the form of the Warrior of Light. And in that trial, plays the song "To the Edge." And "To the Edge" is basically a vocal version of the Amarat leitmotif that plays earlier in the expansion. And it's actually quite possibly the best song in the entire thing. Like I mean, for me personally, it's challenged by a couple of others, but "To the Edge" is actually a phenomenal piece of music. It's just it just gives me chills. It really does. You know, it made what was really a very good fight already. It made it so much better. It ascended, like the fight, the Seed of Sacrifice, rose to another level because of this theme. And the end result is that because it actually took me a couple of listens to remember that it was the Amara leitmotif, and no, it didn't. No, that's not what it was. I remember that because I was in the trailer. But what it was is that it made me appreciate the leitmotif more. It made me appreciate its every, the big three other iterations in which it appears in the game as the as full what is it, Full Fathom 5. What is the city version? Ooh, I don't remember the city version of the Armor of Fate is. And of course, Mortal Instance, which is the dungeon version of the theme. And I just appreciated it. I appreciated the different sounds and the different feelings and the different vibes that that the new version of the themes kind of created. It was definitely like, it was okay. Thank you, Outlook. Really appreciate it. Anyway, but it was I started to appreciate it more, basically. You know, like every time I ended up in the dungeon or whatever, like I hear the lyrics in my head now. You know, like there's words, there's meaning, there's feeling here suddenly. And of course there's feeling before, but it means something else now. It means it's transcended what it was before into something greater. And it's really kind of a beautiful thing. I guess I can talk about each one for a little bit in turn, and I'm gonna try to have like a little bit of I'll try to have the music playing over the video and all that, and some videos. It's, like I said, it's gonna be a slightly larger project, but let's talk about it. So Full Fathom 5 is probably my least favorite version of the theme, actually. It has a very it's not that it's bad or anything. It's just that it's just the least impressive of it. But it has a very, but of course the way the music was composed gives it a very kind of subaquatic feel, because of course you're deep under the sea when this music is playing. You know, it has like it has a very explorer kind of vibe to it, in my honest opinion. I like that. I like the sort of airy, lilting aspect of it that makes it feel like it's. That makes it feel like it's a. It makes it feel like you're exploring a whole new world, and you are. But really, what you're exploring is you're exploring a whole old world. You know, you're trying to discover the secrets of the star. You know, you're trying to figure out. You know, you've already learned a whole lot, and you're just trying to find out the last little keys that Emet-Selch is kind of like leading you along to. And it has a very sort of fun, almost mysterious vibe to it, and it makes for a very interesting experience when you're down in the Tempest. It makes for a very, you know, it's kind of almost, I wouldn't say it builds tension per se, because tension isn't the right word, but it like builds. But it's like building up to something, you know? Like, there's something about this theme, this version of the theme, where it's just like, it's building up to something. And it makes such a huge impact on, you know, and it makes the, you know, the revelation that, you know, because everything's kind of, because what it is that so Emet-Selch has, of course, recreated his old city, you know, as a bit of a phantasmal recreation almost, but it's not totally phantasmal. He can actually create it in its way, but it's shrouded in mist originally, and you can't see it, and you don't know what the Ondo, the Sahagan of the First, you don't know what they're talking about when they're saying that the lights of the ancients. You kind of know what they're talking about. You also don't. You don't know what they're talking about really, though, when they are talking about the lights of the ancestors, being being rekindled and everything. Until you get all the way through it, you get all the way through the Tempest. You go through your subterranean, quote unquote, exploration, and finally come out at the very end of this long winding tunnel to find a vast city. And it's not just a city, it's like a modern city. It's not a city that you would expect it to be in Final Fantasy XIV. It's like something that was built in like the 1920s and 1930s. You know, it's like it's like New York, you know, New York of that time or something. And the music builds up to that, and I think it's really perfect. And of course, that brings us to the next version, which is of course the theme for this city of Amarant, which is very calm and very quiet, and it's soothing and calming and relaxing, and because you're in a place where basically there's not really much danger except for the cubuses, which occupy like one little section of the city. There's no real danger, you know. You're exploring. You know, like the game suddenly slows all the way down, and you're exploring Amarant, and it's a change. It's different. You suddenly, you know, it suddenly brings in a clear, sharp focus how different the civilization of the ancients was. And all the while, this theme is playing, you know, with the ticking clock sound, and it's just a very simple. It's like lounge music, you know, with the. It's calming and it's relaxing, and it's like Emmett Selk is teaching you everything, you know that he can about the world he lived in, and you realize that, oh, this man is, you know, this Ascian, even though he's done extremely evil things over the years, even though he's done extremely evil things over the centuries, over the millennia, you know, his motivations and what he desires and what he loves are actually entirely human and relatable. And why he's done these terrible things is a very human and relatable motivation, even if he's ultimately wrong and evil for it. But this theme does a great job of driving. This version does an excellent job of driving home, like the sort of simplicity and normalcy of this ancient civilization that is no more. You know, it's very beautiful, and some part of me wishes that we could get more of it. Now, of course, there are a couple of different other versions of the Amarant leitmotif that I could address, but they're not part of this. They're not part of this, you know, because of course there are hints and inklings of it in the very jazzy versions that appear in both the Academia Einader and the Nisus Einader dungeons. But I'm not talking about those because I enjoy them, but they're too different for me to really relate to this. So instead we shall move on to Immortal Instance, which is the dungeon version of Amarant, where you basically live through Emmett Selk's recreation of the final days and the horrors that were brought about from it, the falling meteors and the horrific monstrosities that were birthed from the fears of the ancients. And this one's a bit of a toss-up, because as much as I love To the Edge, there's something about the way this one is composed. You know, the strings in the chorus section, and the deep heavy strings when you're building up, you know, and all the while you're running through, you know, a city that's dying. You're running through a dying city, and there's all this terror and all this horror, and it's just and you have to ultimately realize that, like, all the terror and all the horror is actually just a fraction of, is legitimately just a fraction of what the ancients must have experienced when their world was falling apart around them. And this theme drives it home so hard, you know, like there's all sorts of different moments that kind of feel different in the dungeon when the music you know, as the music's playing, you know, if you hit the, you know, if you hit the, you know, sorry, I'm trying to think. So there's a couple of moments, like say, for example, where buildings collapse, you know, to make bridges for you to continue on, and it's like it hits different though if you're on the, you know, if you're at the very beginning of the theme, you know, da 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 da. You know, but it hits different if it's that when the building collapses versus, you know, da 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 da. You know, it's totally different. You know, it's a totally different vibe. If it's different moments, you know, if it looks, you know, if it hits at a different moment, and it's so good at evoking emotion in you. You know, it evokes feeling in a way that's almost, it's visceral. You know, like after spending all this time in the calm, you know, almost, you know, calm, beautiful city of Amarat, to suddenly see it all falling apart around you, and realizing that, you know, like all these people, and you know, you have that one interaction with, oh gosh, what's his name? The one construct that, oh my gosh, what is the name? You know, Emmett Selk's friend and whatnot. I forgot his name. Crap. Oh, dang it. I should remember it too. Well, I'm gonna play through this. I'm eventually gonna play through the story again. I started doing it already on the notes, but you'll see the evidence of that later. But Hyphlodius, that's right, Hyphlodius. You know, but you learn something about the world that they lived in. The world that you are implored to remember as the, you know, as the name of this playlist, you know, is supposed to evoke. You know, you feel it all crashing down, and it hits harder. It hits a lot harder than it might otherwise have. You know, after us spending all that time, you know, in the environment and all that. So of course, after that, you know, you kind of skip ahead, you know, past the dying gasp and all the other events of the story, and finally come to that final confrontation with Elidibus. And that's the important part here, is the fact that it's the final confrontation with the Unsundered Asians. With, you know, you defeated La Habrea ages ago. You just defeated Emmett Selk. Now you have to defeat Elidibus. You know, the heart of Zodiark, as he is. And for that fight, for the seat of sacrifice, at the very top of the Crystal Tower, where the throne of the Allagan Emperors, you know, of course, Allag was founded by Emmett Selk many millennia ago, and you know, there's all sorts of like little ways that it ties in. It's very, very good. Of course, To the Edge plays, and the lyrics in the song and everything give To the Edge such a sense of finality. You know, it feels like, yeah, this is the final battle of this epoch almost. And of course it's not quite, but you know, you're literally bringing the threat of the Asians, who have been causing calamities time and again for, like, you know, what is it, 12,000 years or something? You're finally bringing those machinations and that evil to an end. But it's not straightforward, because of course it's evil, but it's evil with a fervent, you know, evil brought about by evil heart, you know, by fervent, heartfelt desire. Maybe a good but limited comparison to this is Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels, where his desire to save Padme from death and childbirth leads him to become, you know, a terrible evil. Now, of course, the tragic irony isn't there too, but that's not quite the point. The point is, that's not the point. The point is that, you do terrible things to try and save the ones you love, and that's what's happening here. And To the Edge with its lyrics, and if you look at the videos, I take quotes from those, from the first couple of stanzas, and turn them in, and try to interpret them a little bit, lamentation, a plea, and all that. I try to bring out some of the meaning from those lyrics, and yeah, it's a very good song. It's a very, very good song. And it's worth noting that this song was written when Soken was kind of at like the height of like his cancer treatments, because of course he was diagnosed with cancer last year and spent many months in the hospital. But he was still working, he was still composing, and he was using that composing and everything as motivation to keep him going and to keep him working. And he wrote this song, he composed this song when he was, when he was at the height of this. And it feels like it has a lot more meaning and depth than almost, I said this originally when it first came out. It felt like To the Edge had a lot more meaning and depth and heart to it than previous songs in the game. And that's not completely true, because a lot of the songs, there's a couple of songs where the lyrics feel a little nonsensical, but most of them do have like meaning and context within the story. But random pain. But To the Edge feels different. To the Edge feels like it has a little bit more to it, and that's to its credit. Anyway, but it's yeah. I just wanted to talk about it, and I might do this for the rest of the playlist as well, because the playlist comes a little close to 5. So the other playlist. So I think I might do that I might do this for the rest, even if this isn't very popular. I just want to talk about it. I just want to talk about it. It's fun. I just want to talk about this. I just want to talk about things I like. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. It's different. It's definitely different. It's definitely outside my comfort zone, especially because I have like no particular like musical training. So so I know like nothing about like I don't really know anything about like musical theory or anything. So I feel like I'm talking out of my ass a little bit here, but I just wanted to talk about it. I want to talk about the Emerald Light Motif. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you next time. Hopefully with more content that I actually have to make. Until next time, everybody.